Hello guys, Ak here with a new video. Welcome to my channel. Here we do all things marketing, design, artistic, logos, all sorts of stuff. Today we are looking at Reebok. Just as a disclaimer, I am not with Reebok. This is all mock. Basically, we're just doing all this for fun. With that being said, let's get started. So, in this video, we are rebranding Reebok, and this will be a multi-part series, so stay tuned for more. But today we are taking a look at their logo and seeing how we can improve on what Reebok has done. You might be asking why I'm doing this. Well, one day I was sitting around my apartment trying to find something to design for a new video idea. Then I looked on the floor and seen my gym Nike bag, and boom, there it was. I can redesign Nike. So I was scrolling my computer to see what Nike was compared to other companies. And I scrolled, and down at the bottom, I seen this company called Reebok. And it came to me, could I get Nike to be taken over by Reebok at the number one position? Short answer, no. Reasoning, Nike currently sits at almost $50 billion, whereas Reebok is currently at $2 billion. So I had to come with something more reasonable. Who could I beat? Who would Reebok have to overcome to at least become a competitor? And could they do it? Could they even overcome Nike at one point? Well, stay tuned to find out. Reebok was founded in 1958 by brothers Joseph and Jeffrey Foster. The name Reebok comes from an antelope in South Africa, the gray Reebok. I don't know if that's how you pronounce that word, but we can assume that's at least where they got the brand name from. The original logo stayed around until 1977 before switching over to the more recognized logo with the Union Jack, and they did that up until 1993. They did this to highlight their British origin. However, in 1993, this would all change. Keeping the sans serif typeface for the letters in the logo, they would, however, end up changing the Union Jack flag to the stripes that we see today so that it can be more relatable, especially at this time more than any other. You see, at this time, Reebok was at its height. They had signed major sports athletes and was even the official brand of the NBA and NFL, all the way up until 2006 before Adidas took over. More on that later. Now, if you didn't know, Adidas has owned Reebok since 2005, and only in 2021 did they sell Reebok to the Authentic Brand Group, ABG, and they've had it ever since. Currently, however, Reebok sits at $2.5 billion, as that is what they were sold to. But according to Business Chief, Adidas sits at $2.3 billion and is still top 10 amongst most popular and recognizable brands. Now, knowing that, we can begin the mock goals of the company. First goal, move up in the rank of popularity branding. Right now, Reebok is under Asics, Fila, and Lululemon, far from the prestigious company we once knew. Goal number 2, beat out and move up to a more reasonable and realistic competitor in the company branding line. Nike is close to $50 billion, and Adidas coming in at second to about $25 billion. So they are a little far out of reach right now. However, with Puma sitting at $7.48 billion, which is closer and more manageable for that 2.3 to 2.5 billion range, and we can move up. And our last and final goal, having a more memorable logo and brand identity. Now, with our goals in set, we can now start to look at the Reebok demographic. The reason why I came up with this part is because I wanted to see who was Reebok's main selling point. After looking through their page and seeing some research, I found out that their main demographic, their selling demographic, was towards upper middle class, CrossFitters, gym training, and even branching out into the MMA and mixed martial arts arenas. Now, this is not an issue. They can keep these brands. But this is where I saw the first problem in Reebok. Their branding was so small. As we see over time, the world has become more connected. It has become a lot bigger. There has been a lot more influencers. This is a far cry from where they were in the 90s. Because in the 90s, they're reaching out to top athletes. They're trying to get brand deals and be league branding for NBA and NFL. But now we see them small market back into just non-major parts of the sports world. What I propose is getting back to where they once were, signing major sports athletes, getting connected even now with major content creators to get their brand on a bigger platform and not just sticking in the corner where Adidas, to my belief, has placed them. Okay, cool. So where does this leave us? The logo. Over the years, the history of Reebok has had many bad changes to the logo brand, most notably the RBK in 2005, the plain Reebok in 2008, and the red triangle in 2014. But for me personally, I don't know. The RBK is such an odd move. In the design world, I've learned to never take away from well-established ideas. For example, the old logo, the REEBOK, the entire name spelled out, is what so many consumers are used to seeing from Reebok over so many years. To then change it down to the three letters, the RBK, it's almost like they were intentionally trying to remove themselves from the history of who Reebok once was. And then to follow that, they did this weird 180 to where they put the whole name back but removed all color from the brand name. Like, why? You know? It's almost like they were saying that Reebok was dead. Then the biggest atrocity is now adding this weird red triangle that has no connection to the Reebok brand at all. Like, where does this red triangle even come from? I get it could be connected to the MMA octagon or what they were trying to do for that, but even then that doesn't make much sense to me. There's no reason for this red triangle. But even now, Reebok still has a shell of what it once was, especially where Reebok was at during the 90s and early 2000s. Even if we were to go back to the 80s, nothing of today symbolizes where Reebok once was. However, Reebok still kind of uses the old logo. They use it in retro material for their shoes, or, they'll still use it for that. But nostalgia can only go so far. We need to move Reebok into the future, but keep the identity of Reebok from where once it was in the 90s, 80s, and even 70s. So I began looking through logo designs, and something stood out to me. The R in the name Reebok. Even more so with the sans font. The R looked different to me. That is when I began sketching and seeing what I can do different. But ladies and gentlemen, get ready for what I'm about to tell you. As I was doing research to think about the next design, I learned that in 2005, Adidas not only bought Reebok, but that around that time, Adidas also became the official brand of the NBA, amongst other things, which led me to the conclusion that Adidas bought Reebok for the sole purpose of taking over the branding of the NBA. After taking over the majority of Reebok's branding, you see that Reebok, from the prime years that Adidas has owned it, has shifted and has really went haywire in their logo designing, and how there's just not been a push into major branding from Reebok. But it does explain why they have such generic logo designs as a major part of their company, and why they have stayed out of the radar. But after failed attempt to redesign the logo, something clicked. The reason why I was failing was because I was falling victim to the same plague Reebok was falling to. Staying in the old bland marketing Reebok has found themselves in. And so I did change the script. Maybe something that should have been done before. And it starts with the letter R. I looked at the letter R and seen potential. I shaved the R into a less complex shape. And then it hit me. A new logo face. The 3 stripes from before turned into something more iconic, the R. The R will be everywhere, and after a few sketches, designs, redesigns, color patterns, here are the final results. But I didn't just stop there. Do you remember the Union flag? Yeah, I decided to keep it in the logo, but change it just a bit. So what did I do with the Union flag? I minimalized it. I made the lines a lot thinner. I added the white lines, made those thinner, added the blue background, and even when I can change the color pattern in there, I wanted it to keep the same Union flag. And we can do different color patterns with it, but the same shape remains. And so this is the look I was really going for. Something where you still have the essence, the identity of Reebok in the 90s, but you can transform it to meet today and to the future. Being able to combine the two, moving into the future, while not forgetting the past. Okay, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Comment, like, subscribe if you want to see more. Don't forget to hit the notification bell, and please tell me what you think about the logo down below and what changes you guys would make. And I'll see you in the next video. God bless.